I start by showing you the reality of war, because this isn't a joke. This isn't something where Donald Trump can say, oh, I was just being sarcastic when I said I'm going to end the war in Ukraine from Russia's unlawful invasion in 24 hours. This is serious stuff. 300 drones, close to a dozen ballistic missiles raining down on Kyiv and various cities across Ukraine. 6 dead. Horrific stuff happening in Ukraine right now. And what Donald Trump's response is, I was never serious about ending the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. I was just joking, Donald Trump says. I was being sarcastic, and everyone should realize that I'm being sarcastic. But that's his approach to everything. I mean, we woke up this morning to news that U.S. job cuts are up 75%. Over last year. Let me repeat that. U.S. job cuts are up 75% over last year. Also, we woke up this morning learning that inflation is red hot based on the latest data. PCE inflation jumped to 2.6% in June, its highest level since February. Core PCE inflation, which excludes food and energy, ticked up to 2.8%. This was above what some people predicted. Frankly, it's lower than where I think it truly is right now. And if you just take a look right here at this graph that Spencer Hakimian posted, you can see inflation is just a straight line up since April, when the tariffs really began. And this is with our government explicitly removing actual inflation measures and replacing them with inflation estimates, aka lying. We have a massive inflation problem. You know, as I've said before, a lot of the consumer data that goes into determining inflation, that's not being collected anymore. I think that should be a bigger story. And I've reported on it how Apollo, the private equity firm, has raised red flags about it. Other big private equity firms who wouldn't be considered like liberal firms by any stretch of the imagination. What's clear is that the data going into the consumer price index just isn't going in, and they're just making up the numbers, and it's still rising in this way. Here's how Fox reported it this morning. Here, let's play this clip.
Number right now, Lauren, with it.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's start with the PCE price index. This is the number that the Fed pegs its 2% inflation target to. It came in hotter than expected, rising for the second month, 2.6%. The expectation was 2.5% on an annual basis. That was a little bit hotter. Month over month, it came in as expected, hotter than May, but as expected for June, 0.3%. Let's take out volatile food and energy prices. The core, year over year, 2.8% versus the expectation, and the prior month, both at 2.7%.
You can see as well that consumers are worried and slowing their purchasing. If you focus on the American consumer right now, yeah, they're still spending. But as Sean Broderick explains, there's a clear slowdown in 2025. I think a significant slowdown in 2025. And as I've said, it's why I start off with these clips that we live in serious times. And Donald Trump and this MAGA regime, they're deeply unserious people. I mean, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, we heard from Howard Lutnick, whatever the guy's name is, the Commerce Secretary. And he says, let me be very clear, read my lips. There will be no more extensions regarding Donald Trump's tariff threats against other countries. There shall be no more grace periods. August 1 is the date. The tariffs are set. They go into place. It doesn't matter. We are firm. Okay, well, we woke up this morning and Donald Trump says that he's giving an extension, a 90-day extension to Mexico. Donald Trump goes, I've just concluded a telephone conversation with the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, which was very successful in that more and more we are getting to know and understand each other. The hell does it mean more and more we're getting to know and understand each other? The complexities of a deal with Mexico are somewhat different than the other nations because of both the problems and assets of the border. Pause there for a second. We had a deal with Mexico. It's literally called the United States, Mexico, and Canada Agreement. It's the USMCA. We've addressed a lot of the complexities in this deal. We did it in NAFTA. which you amended in the USMCA, which is an updated version of NAFTA. And then you breached your own agreement. But it's great that you're getting to know Claudia Sheinbaum. Donald Trump goes, "We have agreed to extend for a 90 period, the exact same deal as we had before the last short period of time, namely that Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff, 25% tariff on cars, and 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and copper. Additionally, Mexico has agreed to immediately terminate its non-tariff trade barriers, of which there are many." And then they go, "We'll be doing a 90-day negotiation, and we'll see where we are in 90 days. What? That's basically getting close to the end of the year at this point. And just so we all know what that means, because a lot of American car manufacturers have factories in Mexico and Canada, and they get their parts from Mexico and Canada. If Donald Trump is even making fake deals with Japan for 15% tariffs, or a fake deal with the UK for 15% tariffs, or a fake deal with the European Union for 15% tariffs, and then Donald Trump claims, oh, they're going to be investing all this money in the US, and all those countries say, no, we're not. Japan says, we ain't putting $550 billion. It's a discretionary loan, no different than what we would do anyway. European Union says, we're not guaranteeing anything. There's no actual deals taking place at all. There's no written deals. But what this means is if you assume European cars or Japanese cars or cars from the United Kingdom like Land Rover and Jaguar, that means they get preferential rates over American car manufacturers who have to assemble their parts in the United States or even in Canada and Mexico and are now tariffed at a higher rate. So we're quite literally destroying American industry. I mean, I talked about how Ford had a significant drop in revenue as a result of these tariffs, or net income rather, as a result of these tariffs. I mean, look, and we all know inflation is increasing. We all know it. And by the way, I think it's substantially more than 2.8%, just to be clear. And I know that because we all go into stores. When you go into stores, things are far more expensive, right? I mean, I saw that Folgers cup of the Folgers tub of coffee, $12.99, now $19.99 or something. That's basically what I see across the board. Everything's going up. Here, Donald Trump is giving this interview the other day, though, when he says, we've taken care of inflation. We've solved it. You don't have to worry about inflation anymore. Here, play this clip.
It almost feels like an unforced error. You know, if you think inflation I've already taken care of, prices are way down for everything, groceries, everything.
Right. And so to me, it is the harm to our economy. It's the corruption. It's the idiocracy. It's the lies. I mean, take a look at what just happened in the Senate. Democratic Senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, he offers an amendment regarding the Qatari jet that we now know American taxpayers are paying about $1 billion to retrofit. Remember, Donald Trump said the Qatari jet's a gift, it's free. No, it's going to cost $1 billion to retrofit to Air Force One. So what Chris Murphy says, Senator Murphy says, okay, look, you want to take the Qatari jet, we're against it. But if we're going to accept it and American taxpayers are going to spend $1 billion for it, then it should be passed on to the next president, or it should be used by our military and our government. It shouldn't be a personal gift to Donald Trump. Should it or shouldn't it be a personal gift to Donald Trump? And Murphy said it shouldn't be. So I'm going to try to put an amendment in that says Donald Trump doesn't get the Qatari jet as a personal gift to him once he leaves the White House. And what happens? The Republicans voted it down. The Republicans said the jet is a personal gift to Donald Trump. And again, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, an independent. What the hell are we doing? Why would we give him a personal gift as a jet? What the hell are we doing? And by the way, if he claims he's a billionaire, shouldn't he be able to buy his own jets anyway? I mean, what the hell are we talking about here? It's really, really ridiculous stuff. I want to highlight this as well because an Epstein victim lawyer, Spencer Kuvin, went on CNN. I think this is very important to listen to what he has to say as well. First off, he wants the files released. The victims, I've heard from multiple victims lawyers now, they all want the Epstein files released. With the victims' names redacted, obviously any any imagery of nudity or anything like that gets removed. Redact the victim names, but release the files. And what he also says is something important. He goes, now we definitively know that Mar-a-Lago was used as one of the grounds where Epstein found girls for sex trafficking. We had all been saying that. We all knew that that's where Virginia Giuffre, who's recently died by suicide, was found, or as Donald Trump says, stolen by Epstein. But she had to fight in her litigation to get that out there. And she was being fought by Epstein's lawyers and by all these rich people. But she was stolen from Mar-a-Lago, as Donald Trump says. Here's the lawyer for Epstein's victims. Here, play this clip.
We know that Virginia worked at the spa, and she was one of the ones that Epstein used in his sex trafficking scheme, that he traded her to various different high-profile individuals around the world. That has never been publicly admitted before. And she had to fight during her litigation because they were claiming that she was lying about all of that. We now know from the words of the president himself that Virginia was right all along, and that she was trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, the late Virginia.
And then finally, I want to show you these two things. You have the U.S. Department of Energy making posts like this. Like all of our government social media accounts look like this now, and it's so deeply embarrassing. It's a photo of coal, and the U.S. Department of Energy goes, she's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. What? That's how you're referring to coal? That's very strange. No. I mean, why are we going back to coal? It's very strange stuff. And then you have Doug Burgum, who's the Secretary of Energy at the Department of Energy. And he keeps saying this stupid stuff like, are they this dumb? Do they have to pretend to be this dumb for Donald Trump? They go, we can't do solar. We can't do wind energy because when it gets dark out and when the wind stops, the energy goes away. That's not how energy storage works. That's not how batteries work. That's what are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
Yesterday, we've had this super high heat from Washington to New York. We've had times during the last couple of days where, in spite of the hundreds of billions of dollars this country spent on wind, we only had like 1% or 2% of the electricity being generated by wind. And then, of course, when the sun goes down, you have a catastrophic failure called sunset, and there's no solar energy produced. And yet we're subsidizing these things that are intermittent, unreliable, and expensive. So we've got to get back to baseload. We over-rotated towards the renewables. You destabilize the grid unless you've got the baseload electricity, and that can come from hydro, geothermal, nuclear, oil, gas, all kinds of sources. And like we were this last week, over 90% of the energy between Washington, D.C. and New York was coming from fossil fuels and from nuclear. That's what's running our country right now. That's what's going to continue to run our country, and that's what we need for us to be prosperous as a nation.
You've laid out. And then finally, Fox asks the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, what can you tell the American people about some of these near misses where aircrafts have nearly collided in the air? A lot of Americans are very worried traveling right now based on all of these near misses. How do you think Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, responds on July 31st, 2025? The past administration, Biden's fault. Biden did it. It's all Biden. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's such a loser mentality. I'm not speaking at this as a political guy. This is just a loser mentality. You're in charge. You've been in charge now for a long time. This is your thing. We're going to blame Biden for everything? This wasn't happening when Biden was in office. It wasn't. And when Biden was in office, inflation was going down at the end because he took measures to deal with what Trump did at the front end, when Trump caused $8 billion or $9 billion of debt to be incurred by the United States. Crazy stuff. Anyway. Here he is saying it. Play it.
Advice. I want to ask about the hearings on the Hill. We can put up a timeline of these recent near misses. You've expressed concern about it. What do we need to know based on what you've learned so far?
Well, what you need to know is the last administration didn't pay attention to some very risky signs that were taking place in the D.C. airspace. They didn't care about safety. They cared about DEI. They cared about pushing a green agenda. That was the mission of DOT, but the true mission really is safety. And so we've looked at DCA. We restricted helicopter traffic on day one in DCA, so you don't have airplane helicopter cross traffic. If the president flies, we shut down traffic. You don't have it at any point in DCA. We've gone to the next step, though, to look at other airspaces. Again, you reported some of these stories where we've had some issues with military aircraft and commercial aircraft, and we need to deflect that and get procedures in place. But it's an issue that we're focusing on because we care about it. We're not ignoring it. We're not going to pass it off to the next administration like Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden did to us. We're working on fixing it.
Okay.
There we have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.